welcome to Just Talk Funerals with me, Jason Threadgold.
And me, Nicola Threadgold.
Just Talk Funerals is all about the funeral industry, the people that work alongside us, and an insight into what we do.
We will have some special guests along the way, sharing their experiences and how their professions overlap with what we do.
So get yourselves comfy, grab yourselves a cuppa, and let's get into today's episode of
Just Talk Funerals. Hello and welcome to a further episode of Just Talk Funerals. And in today's episode, Jason and I are going to be talking about something that's been pretty serious, but extremely important. And I think that's why we wanted to have a conversation around it today. And excuse me a little bit because I have got notes on this one because it was a report that's been finalised by the government. I don't want to portray us getting anything wrong. But today we're going to be talking about the Fuller inquiry, aren't we?
Yeah, and it kind of back end of 2025, it sort of came to a head and was reported out, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So for anybody that doesn't know what the Fuller inquiry is, it's a inquiry that followed the crimes of David Fuller, and he was convicted of sexual abuse of deceased women in hospital mortuaries. And the inquiry looked into how such horrific acts were basically able to happen and what basically rules and procedures and systems were not in place to actually should have stopped this happening. And obviously now it's to make sure that we're never in this position again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So
first of all, David Fuller, he was an electrical maintenance supervisor and he was arrested in December 2020 for the murders of two women from 1987. So that's how it sort of really started. But then searches from his arrest and obviously going to his home and retrieving obviously technology basically found images and videos of him committing sexual offences on bodies of over 100 women and children since 2005 up until his arrest in 2020. And the evidence shows that actually these crimes were committed between certain hours of 4 to 6 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. And that is because he worked in a mortuary at the Maidstone and Tunbridge Wells NHS Trust.
Okay.
So that's how it sort of came about. So that's sort of a bit of a background into David Fuller. It is an incredibly distressing subject, isn't it? I mean,
it's terrible. I mean, when it first came to light, people thought, how on earth can something like that happen in an environment like that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we've just got to remember as well as we talk about this today that, we have the sensitivity and full respect of those families and those people who were affected by this in our hearts, haven't we?
Oh, without a doubt. But we do need to talk about this and highlight this and talk about what's kind of happened since as well, I think, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And, and it is vital that, it is talked about and, that funeral homes are changing in terms of, what's come out of the Fuller report because there are over 75 recommendations. And, why would you not want to look at that and to make changes if needed?
Oh, yeah, it's protecting everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So I decided that once this report came out, I wanted to look at it in greater detail because I thought it was really important to share this with our team. And we did a full training come meeting exercise on this, didn't we? Because one, we wanted them to understand what had gone on and how it could affect, and families may and the community might ask us questions, so we obviously need to make sure that we can answer those questions, but also I think because we've now decided to make some changes in what we do, it was good for the team to understand why we were making those changes, so hence why we did this exercise, wasn't it?
Yeah, good idea, yeah.
And I think, when I started looking at this, what I found amazing was that, from this report, they've drafted in and they've interviewed, obviously, many people that work with David, and some of the comments on him, and I think this is where you start to realise and have the realisation of this could be anybody. And just to give you an example, one person said that he was polite, courteous, kind, a totally lovely bloke, a family man, and very professional.
I mean, you could just say that that's anybody, couldn't you?
Yeah. And another one, he was a confident for years. He would walk me back to my car, and if anyone was going to walk me back to my car, it would be David, because it was David, like he was the most trustworthy person.
So he'd built up this kind of persona that he was the go-to person, he was the trusted one around.
Yeah, absolutely. So that sort of starts to set the scene, doesn't it? You know, that, you know, we entrust people to work within our businesses, and actually, you know, what can we put into place to make sure that, you know, we are very happy with those people and we know they're doing a good job, and that, you know, things are as they should be.
I was going to you just use the terminology they're hidden in plain sight, isn't it? Because it's like, I guess, going off on a tangent a bit, if you're looking at serial killers and people like that, it's usually somebody that's just a normal person that's going about the normal daily life, but have got a alter ego doing something else. Yeah,
definitely. And, you know, for our funeral business, we were so protective over what we've got and what we've built up, aren't we? And, you know, it is a wake-up call to think that, one, we need to check our systems and processes to make sure they're as robust as they possibly can be. And, you know, I feel that we've worked, and we do work to extreme high standards, but it is a reminder to everybody in our sector, in others that are working in collaboration, that, you know, we have to make sure that all our practices are visible, and that we are regularly reviewed, and that we're regularly reviewing as well as our governing body.
Yeah, you should be doing, because things change. You need to keep up to date with things.
Yeah. And I think, you know, as well as the Fuller inquiry, there are other things that have gone on over the years. Obviously, something very near to us in Hull, we can't talk about that at the moment because obviously that is still going through those systems. But, you know, our industry has been shaken, hasn't it, by the fact that some of these things have happened. And it's like, you know, for us, it's like we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make sure that we're doing everything and it's as tight as possible.
Yeah, it's all about protecting those people that we serve, and equally protecting yourselves as well, to make sure that you are doing everything to the highest of standards.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that really sort of astounded me was, you know, it worked for that trust for many years, and actually in fact it worked there for 31 years, and in 31 years he'd had one review. And it's like, I mean, that blew my mind, if I'm honest, because, I mean, we do so many reviews with our team. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
What does that say about the culture, though, in that place, if they were allowing that to happen and they weren't reviewing on things like that?
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, it was quoted, the culture that was created gave David Fuller the perfect environment to which David Fuller offended.
You know? Given the opportunity, and then he could take the ability, couldn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, in terms of the inquiry and why it matters, and I mean it does matter massively, and it should matter to everybody, shouldn't it? That there should be proper licensing, there should be proper inspection, there should be clear national standards, and for anybody that's involved in any type of care, and we're not just talking post-death here, are we? It's
no,
you know,
we're not just talking about funeral directors either, are we?
No, absolutely. So yeah, I think it's just so important. And I mean, some of the recommendations around, you know, mortuaries need to be correctly managed and supported in terms of accountability and structure. You know, I think that's a given, isn't it?
You would have thought so. But it's been brought up in this, so obviously it isn't in some areas.
Yeah. All employees must adhere to the criminal record check regarding a DBS, and I think that is something we've brought in more and more over this last year, isn't it?
Yeah, it never used to be a thing, but now it's just obviously we will be doing that.
And that's for any member of our team, isn't it? Whether they're admin.
Yeah, because they're going to have touch points with people that have passed away.
Yeah.
Just because you're an administrator doesn't mean to say you're not going to physically be in the presence of somebody that's passed away.
Yeah, definitely. And non-mortuary staff and contractors must always be accompanied by another member of staff. People should, where possible, work in pairs.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the case with us anyway.
Yeah. I think we've started to see that in other areas of those areas where we collaborate with other departments, though, haven't we?
Yeah, and I've kind of seen it as well when you're going into some hospital environments, and there's kind of chaperones as well.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I go with my parents to hospitals and appointments,
Yeah.
and it was just a given that I go in the room, but then it seems the doctors now, they're having chaperones with them as well.
Yeah.
Protecting them, protecting us. So, yeah, it's this two-person rule that's going to shake a lot of people up in our industry, I think, because I think a lot of people have done things solitary for a long time.
Yeah.
But now it's going to be forced upon companies that there's going to always have to be two people present at anything like that.
Yeah. And I think in terms of our culture, you know, and training, I think we're going to we are doing more sort of refreshers on professional conduct, aren't we? Safeguarding the ethics and our values. I mean, we hold regular team meetings, don't we, where the team can share and we can look at standards, boundaries. Emotional well-being is even now part of that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know, just to make sure that we're all on the same page.
And again, we keep using it's a given. You would think it was a given, but because of this report and the things that have been found in this report, the research that has been done for this, it seems that it's not a carte blanche. Everybody does do this sort of thing.
No.
And staying on top of things like that,
Yeah.
you've just got to do. And your culture, your responsibility to the people that work alongside you, and the responsibility you've got over the people that have passed away and their families, it's just huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, and out of all of this, as much as we talk about our business and other departments that we work with and the team, I think the biggest commitment has to be to our community, doesn't it?
Without a doubt.
And that's why we want to talk about these things, isn't it? To show our transparency, to tell them and show them what we do. And, you know, and inviting families into our funeral homes. You know, we have no problem with people having a look round if they want to look round the areas that are normally the areas that are sort of
behind the scenes kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would never go to levels where we were breaching GDPR or letting people see anything that would have a...
Again, we have processes for that, don't we?
For that, but yeah, we open... quite openly want people to come and have a look.
Yeah.
And it dispels a lot of myths.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we always welcome in our regulators, don't we, our governing bodies, and, you know, and students and people that are learning. You know, we're happy to show them, you know, the premises and how we work, because that all instills, I'd like to think, confidence in that people can see how we work.
Yeah.
Definitely. So in terms of... that was the phase 1 report in terms of, you know, around David Fuller and what he'd done and everything. And then when it sort of went into a phase 2 report, which is why it's taken a little bit of time to get this report out into the public domain, if you like. And, you know, I think, again, you know, David Fuller did what he did, but then you have to look at other instances. And in June 2024... there was an individual found guilty of trespassing with intent to commit a sexual offence and sexual penetration of a corpse after he broke into the Princess Diana Hospital in Grimsby, which is down the road from us, isn't it? Where he'd already sexually abused 2 deceased men.
I know, it's awful.
It just beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's sort of the knee-jerk reaction from that, I don't know what else you're going to discuss in it, but I'll talk about this for a minute. The knee-jerk reaction from hospitals was how they turned their external protection over mortuaries. So it became a thing where there's roller shutters, there's far more security on the outside, and then on the inside, you've got to have multiple people there at any one time to greet you. Yeah. I mean, it's lengthened the process of taking somebody into the care.
Yeah.
If it has to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, instantly overnight, it was kind of like lockdown.
Yeah.
And then these processes came about overnight.
Yeah.
And it does make you think, in hindsight, when you think back, well, maybe it should have been there, but nobody kind of thought of that.
I think, sadly, though, that's how things tend to happen, isn't it? Until there's a problem or something happens in life, that's when we tend to make changes.
Knee-jerk, yeah.
We're not always able to foresee things that
because
could happen
you would
in the
think
future.
that it would never happen.
Yeah, and I think we think we're robust enough, don't you?
Mm.
But then it's like there's obviously a chink in the
Armour,
chain,
yeah.
isn't there, or whatever. Then to understand, well, actually, no, there is a problem, isn't there, that we haven't thought about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was that. I mean, it refers to in the report as well around the Jimmy Savile, and his interference of deceased and bodies of patients at NHS trusts.
He was just given free rein for the hospitals, wasn't he? Because of his status, if you like.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously there's the report outlines very basically about legacy in Hull, but just stipulates that the trial with that continues.
Indeed.
Yeah. So it's been really hard, hasn't it? In terms of the funeral industry and the things that have happened. Yes, we've had to learn very quickly, and we've had to adapt and change things. But, I guess public's perception is probably quite low, isn't it? It's around, you would always think you would trust your funeral director, wouldn't you? And they would instill that trust, and...
Yeah, it's been rocked over the last couple of years, hasn't it? Certainly.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a tiny, tiny minority.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to ask around and look around, you would know full well that you can trust your funeral directors.
Yeah.
But it's like any industry, I guess. You're always going to have somebody that's rogue or doesn't follow the rules. But in this industry, it's not one of them that you really should be doing.
Yeah.
No, people entrust us. They put a lot of faith in us that we're going to do everything and do it to the letter.
Yeah.
So the fallout from this, I mean, you're going to talk about it in a minute, the sort of things that have then become from it. It's had to happen.
Yeah.
Because of it, we can't allow things like this to happen.
No.
People have to have trust in people like us.
Yeah, definitely. So the report, in phase 2, just then goes on to talk about the findings, and it didn't then just relate to funeral directors, which, again, when you start to think about this, it outlined, where care homes have to make changes, in terms of making sure that, deceased rooms should be kept locked and also carers should be working in pairs. It talked around medical schools, suggestions around the deceased. Again, you've got a deceased there, making sure that the respect of that body is as it should be. It talked about hospices and children's hospices, and again, working in pairs to look at the entry into buildings, more CCTV. And then it talked around from hospices to the collection by funeral directors as well. And that sort of respect and care for the deceased, and handling of that deceased, and around the behaviour of funeral directors when they go into a hospice. I guess where they're maybe seeing those staff time and time again, if they go quite regularly, but actually they should still remain professional.
Of course.
Yeah, definitely. Other areas where it looked at were ambulance services, and that was an area I'd not even thought about. Patients in the back of ambulances with one other. And I don't, that's for the ambulance service to look at, but, there's always, I guess there's only usually ever 2 people.
Yeah, and I guess
you haven't got a lot of room, have you?
One's driving,
yeah,
and one's in the back with the patient as well.
Yeah.
It's opened a big can of worms, this, to make people really think about the situations and scenarios you could potentially be in where you have one person either receiving care or passed away, and the people that are then entrusted to look after them, either as moving them or carers to them, even families, friends, anybody that's got a touch point with them. So it has opened, like I say, this can, where at what point does it stop? Because you talk about a few elements there of places like hospital, hospices, ambulances. I mean, for us even, we have places like churches.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have times where, especially in the Catholic community, we will take somebody into church the prior evening,
Yeah.
and they will rest in church overnight.
Yeah.
So we're kind of entrusting that person into the care of the priest and the people that are within the church until we then return the following day for Mass.
Yeah.
So it does beg the question, how are we going to adapt and change things in a scenario like that as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the list goes on a little bit. You know, you've got local authority, especially those that haven't got licensed mortuaries. So for those that maybe don't understand, that some local authorities have within their services a funeral home, don't they?
Yeah.
So and they talk quite heavily about the local authority. I mean, we don't have that in our area, do we? But lack of security, unsupervised cleaners, no CCTV. So again, that's a huge area that's going to have to be looked at if you know you've got a funeral home within a local authority.
Yeah,
in that sense.
and you talk about CCTV. Sorry to interrupt there.
No.
But a lot of it's taken that when people have CCTV in anything, even if it's your property, your building, 9 times out of 10 it's external CCTV. So you're capturing everything that happens outside your building. It's very rare you have something inside your building.
Yeah.
And this is where, I mean, we wanted to get ahead of the curve on this anyway.
Yeah.
And we introduced internal CCTV into our buildings as well to cover them kind of areas.
Yeah.
The thing that we have to kind of highlight here is the fact that you wouldn't keep that kind of information on the same server as you've got your generic cameras on.
No, it's not there to be viewed.
No. So it is a private access where only 2 individuals can access that at any one time.
Yeah.
And it's kept totally separate from everything else. But it's something that has to come from it.
Yeah.
And it's something where we need to let the authorities, if they need access to it, to be able to get into.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It then goes on to talk about care homes, around the regulations of policies and procedures. And then it does talk about funeral directors. The main thing for funeral directors is they need to be regulated as soon as possible. And I know we've mentioned it so many times in these podcasts.
Oh, we have on about it all the time.
I think we do talk about this a lot, and it is something that, you know, it just needs to be done, doesn't it?
And why is it not? Why is it taking so long?
Yeah.
What's stopping the government from stepping in and taking this? They're the ones that have come along after what happened with Legacy and told us all these things that we need to do, that we were doing anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody had a spot inspection. The people that were regulated anyway had them regularly, so there wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
But why are government not stepping forward and enforcing this and saying that you cannot open a funeral home unless you are licensed? And however that license looks, what you need to be qualified in, how long you've been in the industry, I don't know what that would look like, but licensing has got to be the way it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it will weed out them people that maybe are going to do something like that in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. It also states that funeral directors need to take action around safeguarding and security, to include licensing schemes and being inspected regularly, and to use enforcement powers where necessary. Customers need proof around transparency to protect the security and dignity of those in our care.
Yeah.
Some of the findings from funeral directors was there is a lack of information around where a deceased is and is being kept. I think for us, I mean, we have our software. We know where everybody is. We know where everybody is in each building.
Yeah, we can track when they've been moved, what times they were moved, to what locations.
Yeah.
So for us, I mean, we're quite a large concern in one sense. I don't know whether all the smaller independents, whether they're doing that sort of thing, but there will become a point where you're having to physically track the movement of each person at any one point in time.
I mean, we can track our vehicles, so we know when they go from A to B, if they're removing somebody from a care home or hospice, isn't it? We've got all that data. This was an interesting one. Families are being prevented from seeing their loved ones.
Yeah, I don't really get that.
I don't get that one at all. Why would a funeral director do that? I don't know, because for us, we're very much welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a scenario. For instance, there's always going to be the odd occasion where it's probably not in the family's friend's best interest to see somebody because of maybe the mode of passing.
Yeah, but we can't carte blanche say no.
No, that's never for us to dictate that. We will offer our suggestion to you, but then we would never say, no, you can't.
No. Another one that, again, they've said that needs looking into with funeral directors is being pressurised for paying for the funeral up front.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we understand disbursements, getting paid up front, but the whole funeral, I don't understand that and why.
And obviously potential criminal behaviours, which again relates back to everything that's happening in Hull.
Yeah.
It then does go on to talk about faith organisations, like what you've talked around, security breaches around security and dignity, people being left in religious buildings overnight.
Yeah. Okay, so it does highlight it in there, sorry.
It does, yes. Yeah. And I think just some of the other areas that we've looked at and that have come out as recommendations are, obviously we've got KPIs for all our mortuary staff. For all of our team, they have key performance indicators, they have goals set, we're constantly reviewing with them. So for us, that's a no-brainer. To follow the code of practice, which we do adherently do in terms of the NAFD.
The NAFD set that, so we follow that.
Regular condition checks.
Every day, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to look at your refrigeration temperatures, you need to do physical checks on everybody every day.
Yeah.
Just so that people, when they are visiting,
Yeah.
they know what they're going to be seeing, and if we see any change, maybe it's something that we can combat and do something about.
Yeah, definitely. And you've said regular temperature checking, and we're always doing, making sure we've got those checks in place, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, for us as well, it sort of then, when we looked at this, it was around looking at our joint standards, our operating procedures, and our service level agreements, isn't it? And to make sure that those that we work with in different departments and who we collaborate with, that we are working with those to show, that we are a trusted funeral director.
Yeah. And I think having regular meetings with these people, whether it's people that come into our environments or people where we go into their environments, I think it's best that everybody has a full knowledge of every working element of that.
Yeah.
So by bringing in registrars, doctors, GP, anybody that has a touch point with us and a touch point with somebody that might pass away, why would they not come and scrutinise us? And equally, why would we not go and scrutinise them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. So I think looking forward, the Fuller inquiry is bringing lasting change, isn't it?
Without a doubt.
But it has to.
It's
I
got
think.
to change.
Yeah. And we expect to see that formal regulation now, don't we? In more inspections, probably more registrations towards funeral professionals, do you think?
I do, but I still think, and I'm maybe quite outspoken about this, but government has to lead this. We've got the NAFD and SAFE, both governing bodies, but it's, again, something that's a voluntary thing. Yeah. It's not something that's forced upon you. So it has to be something that's led by government, and whether that's the NAFD and SAFE work alongside them, that's fine. But without true government regulation, it's not going to have the impact it needs.
Yeah, and in fact, the final sort of closing comments on the report state the government needs to immediately appoint a commissioner to issue universal guidance to all. The report is disappointed in the CMA in terms of their inspection and registration regime. To date, nothing has been done, no action to address the manifested weaknesses in this sector. This report concludes the inquiry, and it is now up to the UK government to respond and to take action.
And the one key word that I took from all of that you've just said was the word guidance, not enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be enforced. It can't just be guidance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, let's hope it is raising the bar nationally, and it's helping, and this is the reason we do this, is to protect families, their loved ones, and protecting our own staff as well, to make sure that, policies and procedures are being adhered to. I guess we'll continue to adapt and to change as we need to, because, that's what we do, don't we? And it's about sharing best practices, investing in our own people, making sure they understand the changes and why we're doing it, and just continuing to be transparent.
We're in a very privileged industry, and we need to keep it like that.
Yeah, and it is an industry that I think we'll just be forever evolving. But, you know, we just have to make sure that, you know, we evolve with it, don't we?
We do.
And it is about the dignity and compassion and trust. That's what we uphold, isn't it?
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that'll end
Sums it up
today's...
for today.
Yeah. A very different subject today, but, you know, one that we feel very passionate about, and, you know, that we should be changing as things do evolve. But thank you for listening today.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Just Talk Funerals.
We really care about what you think. We'd love your feedback on the subjects raised today, or maybe you have a question you would like us to talk about in a future episode. You can contact us by emailing podcast@threadgoldfunerals.com.
If you'd like to know more about what we do and the services we offer, then please head to jasonthreadgoldfuneraldirector.com. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.